All right. So, welcome to the Quest Culture Podcast. This is our Halloween edition, and I'm frozen.
We're frozen.
Frozen. Is that
Uh-oh.
They said Halloween.
like nah? The ghosts are like, yes. It's our time now. Shut it down. Let's start playing.
That was
You guys are still recording.
Oh shoot.
So we're
All right. All right, cool. So, yeah, this is a Halloween episode, and I'm one of your hosts for the Quest Culture podcast. I'm gonna take my time here. I'm Brendon, and I'm here with my very
It's
good
the
friends.
ghost.
It's the ghost. We were just haunted, guys. I don't know. You didn't see it. If you
But
watch
we
us on
did.
YouTube, you will see we were haunted. Like we were ready to go, and then the camera was like, no. The ghost of
Paranormal activity.
the ghost of John
live.
John Carpenter was like, no.
Ah.
Let me shoot this. And of course, I'm here with LuDana Jeter, or Eartha Kitt, or Catwoman, here today for
Yes.
your viewing pleasure. If you're watching on YouTube. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. It's a frightful time of the year.
It is a frightful time of
you
year.
know, like
Halloween.
Halloween is coming up. We were just talking about how it gets cold and
And
I
the
don't know,
days are
for me,
shorter.
depressing. The days are shorter.
You wake up, it's dark.
The
You go
sun
to
is-
sleep. I mean, you come home from work, it's dark.
Exactly. It's just you just wake up in perpetual darkness. So, yay, cheerful times. No, but are you a fan of Halloween?
You know, I'm not really.
Interesting.
It's just okay to me. Isn't that
Okay.
funny?
Why that? Why just okay?
You know, as a kid, we lived in a very kid-friendly town, but I only remember going to trick-or-treating like one time.
Really?
Yeah. And it was fun, but it was just something that
Was it something particularly memorable about that time? Do you remember? Because you definitely went more than once as a kid, right?
I don't know.
That's nuts. Okay.
I don't know.
So you really didn't. If it didn't make any kind of impact on you, then you probably weren't really enjoying it.
I think
in
we
general.
did. I think there were some incidents that maybe happened in the neighborhood, and
Oh.
yeah, I think there were some crabby people who's possibly putting stuff in the candy.
Stop it.
Yeah. I'm from Cleveland. Sorry, guys. Love Cleveland. Just came back. Love it.
She's talking
But
about Cleveland. She's from Cleveland.
no, I love my city. But yes, I think there were some issues that were happening. So I think my mom just like cut it out for us.
Oh, that's sad.
Yeah.
That's sad. Yeah, that's.
What about you though? Were you're growing up? Did you go trick or treating every year?
So, yeah. I mean, I do remember trick or treating fondly with my brother, and my mom would take us out. This is like when we were young kids. It stopped fairly. Once I was like in my teens, it pretty much came to a full stop.
Oh,
I would go and take my brother out and stuff like that.
yeah.
But I wasn't really into it as much. But as a kid, I do remember going out. I used to like the dressing up in the costumes. I used to love, one of my, I don't forget it. But I used
No, go ahead. You have to tell it.
Listen, one of my favorite, remember Underoos? Yeah. Okay. So
Oh yeah, I do.
yeah, like the superhero underwear stuff.
Wait, was that your?
I mean, I wanted to wear my Aquaman. Like that's like the first one I had was Aquaman. That should tell you how nuts I was as a kid. Who wears Aquaman as a costume? Me, a guy who's not a great swimmer, was loving Aquaman. But we used to go out, and it was the neighborhood was nice.
Yeah.
And we used to have a pretty good time. I only have positive memories. Again, I don't remember doing that often. My mom was working a lot, so there weren't a lot of opportunities for us to go out, and my mom, wanted us to be safe and stuff like that. I do remember that there was that whole issue with people putting stuff in candy and stuff
Yeah.
like that, like later as I was getting a little bit older. And I think, to your point, I think that did kind of slow.
Yeah. And I don't even think it was, I don't even know if it was real, honestly.
Oh no,
I
it was
just
definitely it was definitely real. There
It
were
was
definitely
real?
some people
Okay.
doing crazy stuff. Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, in Atlanta too.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, which is nuts to me. Like,
It is
like these are
nuts.
kids going out trying to enjoy
I know.
the holiday. Like, what is in your brain that you think, oh, let me go try to hurt a child?
I know.
Like, people are
Yeah.
out of control. Halloween, cherry. Okay, so, but I, for some reason, um, I did have a healthy fear. Halloween used to scare the hell out of me, and I think so. For instance, right around that time where I was trick or treating, I used to be in like also in the Cub Scouts at
Yeah.
that time, and I remember um, my mom must have been at work, and I was watching um, something on HBO or something. It was more than likely, I believe it was Friday the 13th,
Okay.
and I was definitely shouldn't have been watching that. And I just remember at the time,
That's weird
I was like, oh, it is. This is, I was covering my eyes. I was like, that kind of thing. That definitely happened, but it didn't really make an impact on me until we had like a Cub Scout like trip on a weekend where it turned out to be like around Halloween, and for some reason our Cub leader chose for us to go to this lake, Camp Crystal Lake, and oh my God, I almost lost my mind. I was like, wait a minute, we're going where? and it lined up to be like one of the first times like right after I'd seen that movie. So I was petrified. My mom was like, you want to take a costume? I'm like, no. So, so we went out to this campsite, and we got there. And for some reason, I don't remember exactly, I was a kid, but we got there, and it wasn't a cabin. So thank goodness for that. Because I was petrified, but we didn't get really set up to go and get food and prepare stuff until it was reasonably dark. And then the Cub leader was like, hey, who wants to go outside and get some wood so we can light this fire? And I was like, hiding under the bunks. I was like, I'm not going to be that guy. Not going to be that guy. But then the leaders, one of them picked me. They're like, Brendon, do you want to go out there? And I must have been
Of course you got picked.
I must have been like 10. And I was like crying like a,
Oh no,
I was
like a toddler.
terrified.
Aw.
Not like crying, but I was
You were
whining like I don't think I've ever whined that much in my life. I was not going outside. I was petrified because you opened the door from the cabin, and all you could see was the light from the cabin out into the snow, and then just trees, and then shadows and darkness. And I was like, I'm not going out there. I'm not going. I just watched this movie. I saw what happened. I'm not going out there. So I ended up not going out there. But I definitely pretty much stayed in the cabin for the entire time. And it was,
really?
and I had never been like that prior.
Yeah, I was
going
gonna
to
say. So you had been camping before. You went
Yeah,
every year.
I loved it. I still love it. But it was after seeing that
Friday the
particular
13th.
Friday the 13th, and I don't remember. I don't think I even watched the whole thing. I just watched some of it, and I definitely picked up that they were at Crystal Lake, and I was like, wait, are these guys trying to kill us? Like, this is a setup? What's going on right now? So
So what was the lesson that you learned?
lesson that I learned was not to watch stuff that I'm not ready prepared to watch.
Exactly.
Right? So yeah, I mean, you're a huge fan of horror movies.
I'm a huge fan
Yeah.
of horror movies.
And so what's wrong with you? Like what?
Thank you. No, that's accurate. And my story is similar to yours.
Yeah.
I was an unusual child.
Uh-huh.
I liked things I read all the time, things that I had no business reading. Like just as a kid, I liked Edgar Allan Poe stories. I did.
As a kid, you were reading Poe?
As a kid, yeah.
What was your favorite? Like, what was like the thing you remember distinctly? Which poem or story?
I can't even think of the name of it, but
there's the Raven.
Yes, the Raven.
Telltale Heart.
Telltale Heart. That's the one.
That story.
That's the one.
Still scares me.
Yeah. Right?
Yeah. The knocking at the floor?
Yes.
I'm like, nah, man.
So what happened was, so as a kid, The Exorcist came out, right?
Yeah.
So I cried like a baby because my mom would not let me go see it.
What?
Right?
No.
I was like in second or third grade. Why would she let me go see that movie? Of course she wouldn't go let me see it.
What?
But I remember listening because back then I don't think there were. I don't even know. I'm aging myself, but I don't care. But back then I don't even think there were like commercials for it. But you heard it on the radio all the time, and I remember it was terrifying, but it was thrilling to me. So when I didn't get to go see it, I remember one day I was in the attic, and I found the book. One of my older sisters
Yeah.
had actually bought the book, and it scared them so much that they threw it up in the attic. And me, I found it, kept it.
How old are you at this time?
I promise you, I was probably like in second, third, maybe fourth grade.
Oh my god.
So I read that book like an idiot, had a dictionary next to me because I couldn't understand most of it.
Mhm.
And it scared me so much. Right?
What was it about? First of all, let's backtrack. What the hell made you go upstairs and get this damn book that your sister put up?
I would just wander in the attic all the time. So I wasn't even looking for the book. I told you I was unusual.
You were such a you were clearly. So, and wandering up in the attic looking for a book that your older sister.
No, I wasn't even looking for the
Oh, you were
book.
just
I
up
was
there.
just up there, and I found it's like, oh.
Oh, you found the scary book in the attic.
And I
you
found
thought,
it, and I
"Let
said,
me
oh, I'm gonna
pick
take it
this up and
downstairs."
take a look. And so I've always had this, and I'm gonna cut you off, but we're gonna get back to this. I've always, you know how the joke is that there wouldn't be these horror movies if like black people were in them, right? Like there just wouldn't be, or if the people of color wouldn't be in them.
Right.
I'm trying to imagine a universe where I'm playing in somebody's, even in my attic, and I'm like a child.
Wait, do attics scare you? My attic.
How do attics not scare you?
It was so comforting to me to be in the attic. It was so comforting to me to be in the attic.
Listen,
Because it was always nice and warm. There was just stuff up there.
like
I could
spiders and cobwebs and spirits and books you shouldn't be reading.
Yes.
Sweet.
Oh my God, I'm so weird. I didn't know that. No.
You're not weird. You're not weird.
No,
It's-
I mean,
it's-
were you what?
Oh,
thank you,
Did you
Jordan.
grow up in an old house?
I guess it was pretty old.
Yeah, see, old houses and attics and things, never really.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was an explorer.
Yeah. Mm-mm.
Yeah.
explore. Okay.
Mm-mm.
So-
Everything that you didn't want was in the attic and in the basement. I
Everything.
mean, seriously, like
everything
even
that you don't want.
adults, yeah.
Everything that
is where they put in the attic.
I didn't know that
Things-
attics were really
And in the basement.
things from
Yeah.
relatives long gone.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Passed long
but I
gone. So
found that
it's like a.
interesting.
All right.
I found it very
Well,
interesting.
go ahead then.
So, okay, so
Weirdo.
thank you. So I finally saw the movie later on because it was re-released like when I was in junior high school. So I begged one of my sisters to go take me to see it.
Uh-huh.
Boy, oh boy.
Which sister?
That movie scared me so much. Nothing has come close to it, which is why I think I love horror, because I'm looking for that
jump.
That same
that
feeling.
first high, as you would say, to be that scared.
And what was
Even
it-
though it wasn't enjoyable.
What was the scariest scene or part of that movie or theme that sticks with you? Like right now, still elicits that kind of response from you that you had when you were a kid.
One of the scenes in that movie is when they were praying over her, trying to get the demon out, and she started rising up in the bed. And
Nah,
just the
son.
look on her face, but the
Nah.
look on her face, there was the look on her face, yes, it was scary, but it was also sad. I don't know if you ever
Oh.
saw some parts of it when she was sad.
I did. I watched that movie many times with my
Yeah.
eyes covered over.
See-
But
See,
but
that's
at-
the thing. I
but-
don't watch that movie. It's etched in my head. I never need to watch it again. There are plenty of horror movies that I can watch over. That is not one of them because it scares the hell out of me.
um
Hi guys.
Hi.
Hi, cat lady. How are you? Cat woman. Yeah.
which movie is it again we're talking about?
The Exorcist.
Exorcist. That's what we're
Okay.
talking about, right? Before we go there, are you? Which one? Who are you? Are you Nadal? Are
Uh,
you?
I'm actually have you ever heard of the game Top Spin?
I have.
Okay. I am the self-made character in Top Spin
Okay.
named Stefan Dash.
So,
Okay.
oh,
The character that I made. Look
I
out
like
for
that.
Stefan Dash
I like
on Top Spin 2025 if you play online. Okay.
Is it on Xbox or PlayStation?
It's on PlayStation 5, which I just got. Right.
You got a PlayStation 5?
I got.
I
a
just
PlayStation
got, I just
5
got,
about
I just
2
got an
months
Xbox.
ago.
I just got an Xbox like a month ago.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, that's who I am.
Okay. All right.
I had to be
So
creative.
we are.
I had to be very creative.
That is
because
tis the season. Tis the season.
Yeah, my costume didn't come in on time from Amazon.
Yes.
Ooh, Amazon.
Yeah,
But
Amazon.
I didn't think Static Shock would have been a good look anyway. So
Static Shock would have been great.
I got a Static Shock.
Static Shock. That's
but it
my
didn't come
old
in on time.
original milestone creation, Static Shock, which
Yeah.
has now been one of the most popular DC cartoons and comics
been
and
everywhere.
characters everywhere, created by Milestone Comics, which was a Black-owned and created comic
Awesome.
group that was acquired by DC Comics
And he-
relatively recently. And Static Shock is
And he
is
was one of the
huge.
characters that crossed over, right? And
Yeah.
he's been in multiple kind of like
Yeah.
platforms, right?
he's like as
Young
popular
He's
as
on Young, he
Yes.
was on Young Justice. One of the he was actually one of the leaders, right,
Yeah.
of the teams on Young Justice, right?
Yeah.
So I was like, I got to get something. I
Yeah.
got back from Peru on Thursday. I'm like, oh, Amazon, but
Yeah.
it didn't work out.
it's all right. It's all right.
So I
Halloween.
became a tennis player.
You could do
All
it's
right.
That works.
Oh, and you.
Oh, I'm Tiny Officer. Tiny Officer.
well,
Commander.
Okay.
Mini Commander Brendon Hamilton of the USS.
And what's the name of your ship?
Oh, see, now you got me thinking. The USS Hollyland.
Oh. Okay. Okay.
No, actually, you know what? If I was ever when I was a kid, speaking of when I did start doing Halloween as an adult, I think I kind of cheated because all I did was just get various iterations of Star Trek uniforms and put them on.
Okay.
That was
I
my
remember one of them.
That was that was always my Halloween costume. But I always wanted to be if I was born like 500 years sooner.
Yeah.
I'd be like a starship captain. That's what I want to do. I want to explore. I'm not going to attics though. I would have to.
They were hardcore.
Yeah.
Like Star Trek, right? Like all of the
Wow,
Yeah.
I am weird.
all of the
No,
canon Star Trek captains were amazing.
they were.
Yeah.
They were.
Listen, I come bearing gifts. Yeah, I told you guys I had these things for you. So initially I was going to give you this, right? I was going to give you the Captain America wallet that I found
Yeah.
at my favorite discount store that I won't name.
Yeah.
But I saw this one.
Which is
I felt like now, so you can choose which one you want.
Thank you.
You can choose either the Batman or the
Thank
Captain
you.
America.
You put them right there so the
Okay.
camera can see.
Yeah, take a look at them.
Very cool.
You can flip them on the side so that maybe they can see. And you guys, when you're watching the comments, you let me know which one you think I'm gonna take.
Right. So there
And
you
then
go.
I'll
This
tell
is
you at the
kind of
end
a
which one I'm
classic
gonna take.
Batman,
I love a classic Batman.
Yeah,
And then that's Captain America.
sweet.
And this one is for you, the
Oh,
Mandalorian.
that's cool.
Thank
That's for you.
Very cool. Very cool. Come bearing gifts on Halloween.
Yeah.
This
Yes.
is Halloween. This is Halloween. Halloween.
Is that a song?
That's from the,
Yeah, like, what is that?
What?
I was like, I've never.
I don't.
Jordan,
Is that
where's that
really a
from?
song?
Wait, Jordan.
I know you're
What
vibing.
is that?
That's a real song.
That was a
I
Nightmare Before
I mean, I know you're a
Christmas.
music. Oh,
Oh,
I forgot.
I've never
only seen that
seen
once.
that.
Oh my God,
I've
it's
only seen it
so
once.
good. It's one of
Yeah.
my
Is it
favorite-
really?
Yes.
Literally.
You have
Yeah,
to
I've only
watch
seen
it.
it once.
You have
And
to
I have
watch
to
it.
tell you the truth, I fell asleep when I was watching.
It's okay. It's all right. It's
Ah.
like take some time and actually watch it.
Yeah.
It's an exceptional movie. It's an
Really?
exceptional movie,
Okay.
Yeah.
That's so interesting.
it takes the concept of Halloween and kind of mixes it with Christmas.
Yeah, which I
and
thought was strange. That's
it is it's Tim Burton's.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
completely strange, but the voice acting is amazing. The animation is incredible. The set design and what they did with it, it's very Tim Burton-esque. But then the soundtrack is exceptional. Yeah, you should watch it. You should watch it.
Okay.
That's on the list. Halloween movies / Christmas. You should watch those. If you haven't watched it, you should watch it. But yes, so your movie.
Yes.
So I watched it, and now I'm gonna go back and watch it again to do this to myself again, because now I'm gonna kind of watch for what you're saying, whereas that you detect like the sadness in her,
Absolutely.
in
Yeah.
particular in those exorcism scenes.
Yeah.
Because now that I think about it, yeah, there is a sense of that because you do feel really sorry for her at
Yeah.
points,
Yeah.
and I didn't really pick up on as to why.
She has no
Yeah, 'cause
control.
She's
just
got
so
She has no
terrified,
control, right?
Yeah, it's but it's still, and there's a reason why I say that I'll have to do it to myself again is because, and I've seen tons of horror movies. When I watch that movie, I gotta like sleep with the nightlight on still.
Oh,
Yeah,
Like to
yeah.
this day.
Yeah.
Like I think I see things in the mirror and like in my closet. And
Right?
like
And you see her in the shadows, like looking over, like just over there watching you.
That was a movie that I
Yeah.
watched like this, kind of like.
It
as a
really
kid.
is, right?
I did, I mean, I saw it, but there were things that I was just like,
yeah.
I couldn't really.
What's your favorite? Are you like a Halloween person?
I like Halloween. I'm not a big horror film movie, and there could be a couple of reasons why, right? I think growing up in the 80s, we were exposed to a lot of slasher movies.
Yes.
And I think that for me, slasher movies never really were very convincing, right? Like, I think some that had these storylines of supernatural events that happen as a result of like poor judgment by human beings, I had an affinity towards those. So A Nightmare on Elm Street, right? Like the parents were trying to punish a pedophile, right? And so as revenge, right? Even though the did something really horrible, the parents like killed him and burned him alive in the cellar, right?
Yeah.
Right. And so as revenge, he comes back to like attack all of the children who were involved. Like to me, that's clever.
I have a question about Nightmare on Elm Street. You've seen it, of course.
Yeah. The originals. Yeah.
Is that like, because there have been many, has it been the case that he definitely was that, or was it the case that they mistook him?
I think they I can't remember,
Yeah.
but I think they might have mistook him
I
as
think
the,
so.
and
Yes.
so that was the revenge.
That was
thing,
the revenge. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
There are these films that have like the horror. So if they're kind of smart, right? Like there's another one. I can't think of it right now. It just popped into my head. Oh, it's a Stephen King film, right? And I can't remember. Oh, Jesus. It's like this guy is in this community, and I think it's a community of Native Americans, and he does something that's disrespectful, and he gets cursed. Do you guys remember that movie? It was a Stephen King film. Why did I?
Oh, wait, you're not talking
don't.
about the one that was filmed in Haiti, the Haitian film.
Because I think this guy's Native. I think the character is Native. He puts a curse on the main character. What film is it?
Are you talking about Thinner?
I think it's Thinner.
Oh my
yeah.
God.
Yeah,
Thinner.
it's Thinner.
Yeah,
I love
it's Thinner, right?
Yeah.
That is also. Wait, why does he
They
put
were
the curse?
I think they were gypsies.
I think
They
so.
were gypsies,
gypsies,
right? I
yeah.
thought they were Native Americans, but
Yeah.
they were gypsies. What did the main character do wrong?
He hit.
He ran over somebody.
Someone while
Right.
serviced.
Right. Okay. I know what you.
Oh
Sorry.
yes.
Oh,
yes.
he was getting up. Oh,
Sheldon, it is Sunday.
it is
It is
Sunday,
a
but this.
Halloween
Sunday.
episode.
I mean,
Halloween
this
episode.
is.
Children.
Yeah,
Oh my
let's-
God.
yeah.
Okay, my nephew is probably watching.
Yeah, let's try to- yeah,
Now
let's try
forget
to-
that.
let's
You're gonna
try to-
edit that out, right?
Beep.
Yeah,
I'm
please.
not.
Oh, you're
I'm
not gonna edit it.
Or not.
Okay, I'll have to have a talk with his dad.
I will.
Okay.
I'll beep it.
Okay.
No, it'd be a wrong beep. It would
yeah.
be like a beep before it.
That's not me. That was AI.
Right.
AI's like, I like that one.
AI
I'll
is
leave it in.
So-
terrible.
I know what you did last summer, which is not like it. Again,
It
it's
is a horror
It's a
movie.
slasher film,
Yeah, so
but
you
it
like
also has
slash- Meaning.
a lesson, right? Like,
Yeah.
oh, you just ran this person over, just acting the fool,
Right.
drinking and driving with your friends in your wealthy neighborhood, and ran somebody over and tried to like get away with it.
Yeah.
And so I guess that if I had to say, I'm not a big horror film, but I guess these
But
horror
you
films
are.
that have a lesson.
Yeah. So you
I
are.
like them. I guess so,
Yeah.
right? Maybe. We had this conversation a few weeks ago when we
Right.
were prepping for this show, right? Like, what kind of horror films do I like?
Right.
I guess I like ones that I call them suspense. You guys said they weren't suspense, right? I can't remember.
There's a lot of
So
there's a
many-
lot
so
of
many
genre blending
subgenres.
stuff
Yeah.
that you
Yeah.
can,
It really
that
is.
stuff that's horror, and then it's like, for instance, I mean, what is the? Well, I'll get to that because you're talking about slasher films. We just saw a slasher movie recently, right?
That's right. We did.
In a violent nature.
In a violent
right?
nature.
Oh, is that the
Yes.
name of it?
Yeah.
Is that the movie I was talking to you guys about that I wanted to see
No.
with the family?
No.
And
Oh no,
Oh
Okay.
no! I haven't seen that
that's
yet.
some James McAvoy one.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I haven't seen that one yet. In a violent nature, which is interesting, is because you're talking about the slasher films. I don't, because you do you like them? or just or those the ones you've seen?
Well, those are the ones that I've seen, and I find them very clever or interesting. Like even like Chucky, right?
Yeah.
Like Child's Play. Child's Play is so great because it's funny. It's
Yeah.
like
Right, it's funny.
it's funny,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
It's kind of like very violent, but it's also very funny.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. So in a violent nature, like if you watch these slasher films, Halloween, Friday the 13th, all these things, you always see those scenes where like Jason's out there, and it'll be like the people will be like, there's always the couple that's doing something in the cabin. There's always somebody that's like the loner that's out there in the woods by themselves. There's always there's always these, and there's all these scenes of things going on while Jason's out there.
Right. Like in good and bad people too, right?
Right.
There's
Good and bad.
There's the a-hole who's
right.
like, right.
Right. Which is a good point.
Yeah.
Remind me you said that. But in a violent nature is a very cool concept because it is at first just a slasher film, but it's completely from the perspective of the slasher. I don't want to say too much about what they of the slasher. So it opens up fairly amount. Of course, I don't want to say too many spoilers. You have to see this movie if you like slasher movies and horror movies too, because it's an interesting take because you follow him the entire time. So
that is unique, isn't it?
Exactly.
It was very
because usually it's you're following the other characters. This one, you're following just the guy as he stalks all of these people. And there's very little dialogue except for what you can hear off screen from the characters living their lives.
Do you see the actions that he, like the planning that he does to kill a person and stuff like that?
It's crazy.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
It's crazy because you see him stalking them like they're prey.
Yeah.
You see them living their lives unaware that he is there. And then the kills are just, at first,
yeah, they were a bit too much for me. But I love how this movie was directed. I'm not a slasher movie person. Exception a few, but it was overkill for me.
It was overkill for me too. Like a couple of those
like,
kills.
oh my God.
I was like,
enough blood.
I was like,
jeez.
Like all I can say is
Enough limbs.
Do you guys remember? Did you guys watch the Walking Dead episode where Glenn was killed?
Yeah, of course. That's like
sad,
that's an iconic
but also
episode, right?
Like churning, like it's like, and to
But
do,
it was
and to
that
do
was
that in such a
savagery.
way to Glenn.
Yeah, that was savagery.
This movie has one of those scenes.
Yeah, it was
where
savage.
it was just like,
Yeah.
like I think he's dead. I think he's dead.
Yeah.
I think he's dead.
Yeah.
So dead.
Like so dead.
Yeah.
So dead. But when you think about what happens to that character and why the slasher went ham on that person, you got to think back to what that person did earlier in the movie. And I had to think back and say, why? Like the other people got, gruesome deaths, but why this person?
So
And then you go back and you look at what I don't want to say too much, what this person did
Yeah.
to start this whole thing going. You're like, it makes you feel a sort of, in an odd, perverse way, like empathy for the slasher. Yeah.
So it's just like it's sort of a.
I don't know if you felt that way.
I did not feel
It's a narrative.
I didn't say I didn't.
Right.
I wasn't like, yeah.
Oh my God.
Given
you
a
poor
slasher
thing.
voice, right? Looking at the lived experiences of the slasher, I love it. Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
So I think if you're sort of into slasher films, but you want something different, I think it's.
Yeah, I think you should watch it.
I would check that out
Yeah,
for
you
sure.
check that out.
Yeah.
So
Just
do you
for that
like the
perspective.
Purge movies? I don't watch those.
I don't think I've watched any of the
it's
Purge.
too
You know what?
realistic for me.
The Purge is too close to home,
Yeah.
especially as like a sociologist. Especially like thinking about even before like the Purges came out before the pandemic, right?
Yeah.
And the pandemic had a feel, and I never saw any of those movies, but it had the feel of like, every man for himself kind of thing about it. Even though there were parts that were not present that we didn't see, right? But people were doing things behind the scenes, like that was like, oh, I'm gonna save myself, and that's why I never watched any of those Purge films.
Yeah, it's too like you're saying, D. It's too close to home.
Yeah.
Especially in light of a particular presidential candidate.
Well, yeah,
A few weeks ago, calling for a day of violence.
and then some of the things that we've seen, right?
He's
So,
essentially calling for the purge. He's saying that there should be a national day of violence where police officers can do whatever they want to criminals.
Did he say that?
Yes, and that
I've been out of the country for
you might want to stay out of the country, depending what happens.
when did
in
he
November.
like this week?
He said like 2 weeks ago. 3 weeks ago, he said there should be a national day of violence, and then it'll stop whatever he's talking about real quick, quote unquote. So he's essentially saying, and he also wants to give police
Laissez-faire kind of.
laissez-faire in terms of like what is it called? Qualifying immunity.
Yeah.
He wants to make sure that
It's universal or
it's
federal law.
So all police officers will have
Yeah.
carte blanche to do whatever they want, right?
Yeah.
So in light of that, these Purge movies are
Right.
too real for me.
So to circle back, right? It's like when we were talking about this, planning for this episode, and I initially I said I'm not really a horror fan, but those are the type of films that I
That you
really
do.
like, right? Like things that are like within the realm of
Of reality.
possibility,
Mhm.
things that when I see it in my world, when I see it in like based on my background, things that can be terrifying, and something like what you just described, something like that's in the Purge films. Movies that deal with viruses or whatever, right? These are
Yeah.
very much part of like, I mean, I'm a sociologist and I do like public health work. And so these things can be in the realm of possibilities, and those things really scare me, right?
Of course, yeah.
That like because they can happen. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Airborne,
Airborne
diseases, viral, like,
Did
and
you
we
like 28 Days Later?
yeah, like 28
I
Days
love
Later. I
that
love
movie.
that.
Yeah.
I
Loved
love
all
that
those
movie.
films, right? I love The Walking Dead, especially when it first started because
Yeah.
it was
Yeah.
really scary, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, it was very scary. It
and
was
Fear the Walking
scary and-
Dead too was particularly very scary because you just see how something kind of just like spreads, right? And a part of the country where people don't really know what's going on, right? It's already going down on another side of the country. The other side they don't know, and they don't want to really let them know, because if they let them know, they know that it's all chaos is going to break loose, right? That's always that's one of the fears of these films, right? That
Yeah.
chaos is going to break loose. I just saw, and I'm gonna tie it up here. But what was the movie we were just talking about? Where you had to be quiet. The Quiet
Place.
The Quiet Place. I just saw the original one.
Yeah.
Mhm.
With Lupita.
Yeah.
And
Oh, the first one.
yeah, the first one,
Quiet Place.
right? Yeah, the
Yeah, yeah.
first Quiet, the prequel.
Yeah.
And it's just like how things like break down. But the interesting thing about it, right? And I live in, you live in the interesting thing about A Quiet Place, the prequel, is they blew up the bridges. They blew up the bridges so people wouldn't move into areas, so more noise wouldn't spread,
Wow.
and the aliens wouldn't like attack them. And that's always what happens in these films, where there is some kind of like national, catastrophe, or right, like they will cut off certain parts of the population for people to survive.
Well, the first
And
step
to
is
me-
always to confine.
Contain, yeah.
Contain.
And that's always like, I always think about it. I'm like, I'm in northern Manhattan. How can I get across to like New Jersey or go north?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Because if something breaks down, they are going to blow up the bridges.
Do you have line at that real quick. Do you have like a go bag and escape
Not
plan?
yet.
You
Not
got a
yet.
go bag and escape plan?
Nope.
And I hate to
Jordan, you
be,
got a go bag and escape plan? Okay, yeah.
and I hate to be all like, because it
We got to
sounds
get
all-
on that. We
'cause
got to get on that, people.
It's
Let people-
conspiracy theory, like, or whatever, but
I
it's
mean, is
also
it?
it's practical, right?
You were
Like,
living here when there was a blackout.
I was living in Maryland. I was going to graduate school.
Were you here?
Yeah.
So it's within the realm of
Yeah,
possibility.
it's in the realm of
it's-
possibility. And those are the things that scare me. Yeah.
So it's things that
Okay.
are real. So for you, if you had to name one movie that's like the scariest movie that you would see, like even now, if you were to watch it in that realm, what would it be?
Oh God! I think the scariest movie that I thought as a kid was like Salem's Lot. I was terrified of that.
Did you see the Hulu remake?
I'm kind of afraid to watch it by myself.
I watched it yesterday.
What'd you think?
It was okay.
thought
I
so,
don't think
too.
I don't stop remaking it. This is like what
It's
the
a
third
third
remake.
iteration,
Yeah.
and I saw the first
one was frightening as
right,
well.
1979, right?
still.
Like with the person
That's what
scratching
I'm
on.
saying. Stuff from the 70s and 80s
Yeah.
is
It was
unmatched.
terrifying.
But why do you think that is? Because my one of my questions I had was, are these movies just not as good, or have we just seen so much that they don't really make a mark for us anymore? Like, have we seen so many
I think,
possession movies? Have we seen so many slasher films?
I think the
that
test
stuff
would
is
be
kinda
like
old
the
hat
next
for us?
generation. I think the test would be the
Well,
next
I mean,
generation
that's
and how
the whole
they
thing.
respond to those films.
Right. So
Yeah.
that's the whole thing. I think because what we're all saying, we saw our first horror film as a kid.
Right.
As a kid, you're going to be frightened,
You're right.
right? So it's going to be etched in your brain that this frightened the heck out of you.
Right.
Right.
So for millennials as young adults or whatever to see The Exorcist, I think they think it's funny.
Do they?
because they're so immune
See, we
to
got to
everything. I would love to ask them,
we
but
got to
people
ask
that
the
I
young
have,
people out there.
yeah,
Young people out there watching the show, like my nephew, some other people,
right.
right? We want to know what you think about these, I guess we should call classic horror films,
Classic horror
like
films,
Exorcist.
exactly.
Now, I'm pretty sure, like my nephew, like his parents won't let him watch
How
The
old is he?
Exorcist yet. He's 11, I believe. Yeah, he's about the age,
About that age,
right?
where
The
you
Exorcist,
might
and
maybe.
I'm gonna ask his dad, like if
Actually, because The Exorcist isn't particularly gruesome. It's
Not
just
gruesome.
it's
scary.
supernatural,
It's supernatural.
right?
Supernatural.
And very religious
It's it's
Very
religious.
heavy.
undertones.
Yeah.
Very much so.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very
Yeah.
much so.
So I don't know. Like, for instance, I did enjoy, though I was grossed out by A Violent Nature. I did see that.
Mm-hmm.
That is new. So I don't know how you could do A Violent Nature 2, but I guess you could, because if it's just following I don't know. Maybe I would say they'd probably leave it alone here, because it is an interesting concept, but I can't see them expanding it on it.
Mm-hmm.
But I did like it because it was new, because it was something I haven't seen before.
Yeah.
So
That's true.
so that's to my question. That's what I'm wondering, if these
And this is the McAvoy movie.
this is Violent Nature is the one. Actually, I don't even know who. And that's the major thing about it, is that there's no one major in this cast.
There's
It's all new
none.
actors.
It's all okay.
But just to see, like, some of the movies that came out recently of 2024, I don't know if you guys seen any of these. The First Omen. Did anybody see that?
I tried. I couldn't finish it. It was so boring to me.
Wow.
I was bored.
So supposedly they were trying to make that in like the same vein as the originals.
I know.
It didn't feel like
did
that
not.
to you.
No, absolutely not.
What about Clickbait? Abigail? Anybody see it?
I loved
Mm-mm.
Abigail.
Did you?
Abigail, is it like Oh no, that's the vampire,
It's the vampire.
It was
ballerina movie.
fun.
Yeah.
That was
That was-
interesting.
Did you
was
see
a
it?
fun
Yeah, I
movie.
did.
So tell
you see
them
it?
about. I didn't see it. So
Oh.
why should I go see Abigail? Why should we
Okay.
should go see Abigail?
Well, first of all, the cast was amazing, and his name just slipped. What's his name? If he's going to be in it,
God, I can't.
Is it the guy that was in that?
no. Breaking Bad. Come on, we know.
Oh God.
What's he look like? What's he been in?
Everything.
Angus
He's
Cloud.
no.
Angus Cloud.
No, he's of color. He's Latino, but he's a black
Ian-
Latino.
Ian Carlo Es-
Yes.
Oh, he's in it.
Esposito, Yeah, I
Yes.
forgot.
So
Oh,
yeah.
I
that's
gotta
why
see
I
that.
said, you know what? If he's in it, I know it's not going to be
He's amazing.
trash.
He comes up again too, right? Because we talked about him
We
last
talked
month.
about
and
him.
it's
talked
the
about
right thing. Yeah.
Did the right
So-
thing. The Star Wars episode. We keep
Right.
talking about this dude.
Yeah.
He's a
So the cast was amazing. You think you know what's going to go on.
Yeah.
The little girl was great.
She was awesome.
That's what I heard. I heard they like subvert the whole vampire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was so
Is that what
over
you was
vampire
about?
movies until I saw this.
Let me ask you a question. Is that the same little girl from Chucky? I have to cross check this because
I
there's
don't know.
there's a little girl who plays like she's just. And I think it's the same person.
Okay, but
in the
she
film.
she was good, and then in the end, it was just like this little twist at the end. So it was a good movie.
Yeah, you got to check
I was
that out.
pleasantly surprised.
Are you guys on Shudder? Like, do you watch Shudder?
I do watch Shudder. I have Shudder.
There's supposedly
You know
some.
I have Shudder.
Is that the
I just had.
is
to
that the
check it.
horror
The attic
channel?
girl.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, you are the attic girl. Yes, the horror
Uh-huh.
channel. I think I have it. I haven't watched it a lot, only because hasn't been much in horror that I've
Right.
been looking forward to seeing.
Yeah.
So, though I do like the genre, though I have to say, as I'm getting older, I'm getting a little squeamish about horror movies.
Oh yeah.
I think it's just because I can see some of the stuff happening, and it's too close to home for me. Even and I feel that way mostly about like the violent, like the slasher films and
Mhm.
Saw films and
Mhm.
like things
Mhm.
like that, where the horror primarily is like body horror or like violence in general.
Yeah.
I'm
I don't-
starting. I used to laugh that stuff away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
But
Dale's
no.
one of Dale's favorite horror movies is The Toxic Avenger,
Okay.
which is like a comedic take on this
Right.
guy that gets mutated by
Right.
radioactive goo. and
Waste.
He used to be like a janitor, and he walks around killing people with his mop.
Yeah.
It's pretty hilarious.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
so
yeah.
silly.
Yeah.
They're making
And
they're making a remake with Peter
course they
Dingle
are.
from Game of Thrones.
Game
I don't
of
know if he's gonna
Thrones,
play
yeah.
Toxic Avenger, but they're making a remake. But I used to laugh at that stuff with Dale because it was so obnoxious. Like he's
Right.
shoving broomsticks in people's mouths and like mopping the floor with their faces. So it was like it was funny. But now when I see stuff like that, like for instance in A Violent Nature, or when you see the Saw films, or when
Yeah.
you see certain things in the Purge movies, It's hard for me to watch that stuff.
It's the capacity for violence, of human violence,
Yeah.
right? That human beings can be that
Suffer-
violent, and
human
that's the part.
suffering
And they can, right? I believe
Yeah.
that some human beings, a small percentage, have the capacity to be that violent, and those are the things that really frighten me
Yeah.
because they can happen.
Yeah.
I understand that.
Yeah. And interesting enough, I think for me, when I was, kind of prepping for this episode and why I do like horror, I will say that I tend to like horror that involves families or
Mm.
just people, trauma, family trauma.
Okay.
And a good person, a good director who does that very well to me is Mike Flanagan. I
What-
tend to really enjoy his movies because is most of the time it's based on family.
What
and
did
he
he
actually
direct?
Mike Flanagan. Okay, I have it here. Wait a minute. Sorry, my Eartha gloves are the way. Sorry.
It's all right.
He did Doctor Sleep,
Oh,
Gerald's Game. He did Oculus. He
Okay.
did Ouija,
Ouija.
Origin of Evil. And my favorite series
Ouija
by
came
him
out. Was that this? It's a
House
new
on
one, right?
Haunted Hill. No, that particular Ouija, no, that was
There's a new one that came out. I thought.
yeah, that
Not good.
I don't think he did that.
Okay.
But this one was very good. And he tends to recast the same people over and over again.
Mhm.
But that's why I like him,
Okay.
because it does center around families for the most part.
How do you guys feel about zombie movies in general at this point?
I mean, in general,
Zombie shows and zombie movies.
I like
Yeah.
the zombie genre. I don't know what to call it. It's
Yeah.
like most of the stuff. I don't think there are very many movies that I don't like or I wouldn't have or I haven't watched. Right, the television shows. I'm getting a little burnt out by the Walking Dead world. I'm not really into it
I
that
haven't
much
watched-
anymore.
I haven't watched religiously since they killed Glenn
I watched the one with Michonne and
Michonne.
and Rick.
Rick.
Is it-
That one.
Is it good?
I liked it. I enjoyed it.
Are you watching this Daryl Dixon spinoff?
Good.
Is it good?
I at least like it.
Okay, see, I've been considering watching a Daryl
Me
Dixon
too. I've been considering that as well.
because I really love Carol and I love
Yeah.
Daryl. Carol was my favorite character when I
Yeah.
think about it.
Mhm.
She was the one that transformed the most.
Yes.
She was the one who lost the most.
Yeah.
So my question has always been with Daryl's character because there've been rumors of a spinoff for forever since
Yeah.
since he first debuted.
Yeah.
Because in the comics he's only I think he's in like one book and he's done.
Right.
So clearly there's something about that character. But I was always worried. I'm like, can this guy hold a show by himself? Like, can you be Daryl for an hour and keep me interested over several seasons?
Right.
But you guys are saying it's good. Right?
Well, it's like his character was very interesting because I think, like you said, right, he probably was only in one book, but it was the actor who made him compelling.
Yeah,
It's
Norman-
the way
Norman Reedus is-
his character transformed throughout the seasons, where he really went from a villain to being like a hero. Like he was one of the heroes that you rooted for, and he held the show together. I think when Rick left, like he was sort of one of the
he's like the second most popular character.
yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Remember we talked about that. I actually stopped watching The Walking Dead because it was too heavy for me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It was
heavy.
it was always on it was a Sunday at 9 p.m. and I'm like,
Yeah,
I can't do this anymore. And I know one day I will get back to it, but
Yeah.
I didn't even finish
Do
the
you
original
remember
series.
the episode where Carol had to kill the little girl?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Oh my
course.
god! Like what a horror! And again, an example of a child who had been
She killed her sister.
right,
She
had
literally
been
killed her sister.
transformed, right?
Right.
Disfigured as a result of all the things that were happening in the world,
Yeah.
right? Like she killed her sister. It was like,
One thing The Walking Dead reinforced to me is you got to make sure. That's why I'm asking everybody if they got go bags. You got to make sure you got your crew set. Get your crew set before it all goes down.
Right.
You know what? I'm just gonna tap out. I don't.
You're gonna tap out. You're gonna tap
You're
out.
just gonna get bit and just
Some
just-
people
I'm gonna
will tap
tap
out. I don't know.
out.
Or would you
Come
tap out?
Hell
Brendon?
no.
No, I'm not
Really?
tapping out either.
Whatever.
Yeah,
Hell no.
I'm gonna
yeah.
get both of you. Then.
No, we're gonna need the attic girl. You kidding me? We need you.
I know.
We need you to crawl up in those attics.
Yeah, you probably, right. You'll
Be like, yeah, we're
probably
gonna
be
send
one of the,
Dana up in her attic to make sure there's nobody up there.
you'll
See if
probably
there's any
be one of the
books you can read.
strongest people out there, right? Because it's not the people who expect to be strong. That's the other part about the film.
Yes.
It's always the people who have
Yes.
these they're like hidden jewels, right? Like
Yes.
Carol, she was a hidden jewel. Nobody
Right.
expected her to be tough.
Yes.
And even the the daughter, the farmer's daughter, Maggie, she turns out to be like a tough cookie. Her
Yeah,
sister
that's
does
true. Maggie, I
turn out to
forgot.
be a tough cookie, right?
Yeah.
From their original
Mhm.
entrance to the show. And so
Yeah.
you might be a leader if we had some kind of zombie
Exactly.
apocalypse.
You
right?
you might think you want to tap out, but then you might end up being Daryl.
I want to give a shout out to like a horror writer who I don't read very often because his books are terrifying and his adaptations are very terrifying, and I had to think about it on my way down here. Again, I told you when I was a kid, Salem's Lot was something that terrified me, but it's Stephen King and his
Oh,
films.
absolutely.
I mean, the original,
Always.
It's on my
Stephen
until
King.
they got to the end, right? But that television show, that adaptation, and then the films terrified me. I mean, first of all, I'm terrified of clowns. I think clowns can be.
Well, that clown.
Where did that come from? Is that from it?
I
or
don't know. I think it existed before it, and it just got reinforced with it. I think there's something scary about some grown person wearing makeup, making faces. Like there's something terrifying about that. But and that's the brilliance of Stephen King. He just personified like that
he
fear.
subverts that entire
Right, that
concept.
and people see that, right? Ronald McDonald is a scary character. Come on.
Ronald McDonald, an actual scary character, real life John Wayne Gacy.
John Wayne Gacy, right? Yeah.
He used to actually.
So there's something about that.
Yeah.
That's subversive, right? Like kids, some kids love clowns and some kids hate them immediately.
Stephen King made me readjust my concept of what I thought horror movies were. Because
Yeah.
he does have some obvious like horror themed things, but then he's got some stuff that's kind of like, why is this, like, for instance, Green Mile is supposed to be semi horror.
Yeah.
But it's so tender and
People forget that.
people forget
That
that,
it's a
right?
Stephen
That
King movie.
It's a Stephen King movie, right? So, yeah, he's one of the greats.
And a lot of his movies are like they're sleepers, but they're really good. Like Dolores Claiborne.
I feel like a lot of it is
Oh, I
execution.
love Dolores Claiborne.
Dolores
That
Claiborne
was
is-
such a
What's
great
that movie with the alien that?
the one with
I gotta
Kathy
remember.
Bates. Misery is a
Misery's great.
That's one of the great. She won an Academy Award for Misery, right?
Did you guys
Yeah.
like Dreamcatcher?
I did.
Really?
I don't know if I've
I
seen
did like
Dreamcatcher.
That's the one where the alien, like, they're out in the woods.
I did. I thought.
and it would like get in through people's bodies through their butts.
Yeah. Oh, Brendan, it wasn't.
In
I
one
don't
scene,
think I've had a belly
in one
laugh.
scene, that's
since
what happened.
I know that's what happened, but that was not the whole concept of the movie.
That's all I got.
That's all you got.
No, don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. That was one of those movies where I saw a scene and I was like, I can't watch this anymore because it was so just gross to me. I hated what happened to that dude. I don't
Yeah,
like
that was
that was probably one of the most awful deaths I think in that
absolutely
entire
that
movie.
was one of the most
Yeah.
awful deaths.
Yeah.
Yes,
But I did. Don't get me wrong. I enjoyed the
Yeah.
movie, but that scene, I was like, I every time I go to the bathroom, I look and I'm like,
you're so silly.
let me just make
That's so-
sure.
So shout out to
But
Stephen,
it's
shout
so-
out to
it's-
Stephen
but
King.
Stephen King, I don't think he's ever. I think he said he's never really enjoyed any of his movies
Yes,
and
'cause
how they.
Because they're not done well.
Yeah.
And he never, I mean, I don't know. Maybe you guys know. Does he ever serve as a consultant on his films?
It's a very good
Because
question.
you see that increasingly when somebody adapts a book that they are consultants on
Yeah.
the film. And I don't
You
know
would think
if
he
I've
would.
never, I don't know
Yeah.
if I've ever seen him as an executive producer on his films.
That's
or
a very
anything
good
That's
like that.
question.
true.
If you guys
That's true.
know
I don't know.
of any movie where or show where Steven was consulting involved, let us know because then we'd like to know if it turned out well. I like what Hulu did with the Skarsgård in that show where he plays the demon that's in the jail, locked up in the jail. It's on Hulu.
Which I don't know if I've seen it then.
I'll have to get the.
Which I love. I love him.
I'll look it up. But he plays a demon, or a devil who is locked up, who gets found, caught by the police, and then is locked up in a jail
Oh, I know that.
underneath, like in the city.
I saw
and
that.
from the jail, he's like manipulating people from
Wow.
the jail.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was Stephen King.
Stephen King.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Or did I forget?
Hey,
Yeah.
I mean,
That's good.
he's kind of like the prince of
He really is.
like books, right? He has so many short stories and so many
So
books
many
that
short
like
stories.
that he's like that his work
called,
has been adapted.
Castle Rock.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Castle Rock.
Yeah.
That's
And
the
ironically
series,
enough,
right?
yeah, the series, yeah, it's very
He
good.
was in
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, Dylan
Okay, I was reading.
Skarsgård.
Okay, I was reading about that as I was prepping for the show about Salem's Lot and stuff. Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
And The Outsiders, which was on Showtime, right? That's another one too. The Outsiders on Showtime is very good. But for some reason, like Castle
I saw
Rock
the Outsiders.
and The Outsiders, it's only like one season, so I'm not sure
Yeah.
if they're going to continue.
I don't
But
know.
good stuff. Like if
Yeah.
you're looking for actual
I didn't even realize he was
new
in that.
horror, but it's like, I mean, technically new. It's still Stephen King.
But
Yeah.
see, that's the thing, and maybe this show and maybe talking to you guys about it will help me to shift. Because as soon as I know Castle Rock is affiliated with Stephen King, and I'm like, nah, I'm gonna wait. I'm not gonna watch that, or I'm gonna wait to watch it, or whatever. Maybe I need to adjust that or shift that.
Yeah, I would watch Castle Rock because it's different from what you would expect. And I think that Skarsgård kid is just so good.
He's great.
Even though he was in the Travis Stephen movie, I didn't see it, but I was mad that
We
they
are
said they
talking
were
about the
gonna
guy
remake it.
from True Blood, right?
The guy, no, his brother, his younger brother.
Oh,
The
his
guy who was
brother.
in the guy who was in the Crow remake that they
Oh, okay. See,
Oh.
his brother.
one
is
of
the
my
one
favorite
that
movies that they decided to mess up.
His brother
And
is the
it's
one that I go
irritating.
gaga over.
I like him. Yeah,
Gaga, Lady Gaga.
Yeah.
He was in the
Yeah.
Lady Gaga.
I like him. I like him.
Bill.
Bill
Skarsgård.
Skarsgård, and I like FK Twigs, the singer. Yeah,
Mhm.
she's in it too. But
Mhm.
and I thought on paper it could be good, but just from the commercials, I'm like, this is not even in the spirit of the comic book.
Mhm.
I don't know what they're doing. I don't know if this person's actually ever watched the comic books or read the comic books or has talked to James O'Barr. Speaking of people consulting on their movies,
Mhm.
but I'm gonna look it up because just from the tone of I was like, this is essentially just like it's like a violent remake of that. Like they focus heavily on the violence, and I'm like, that's not what The Crow is about.
So what was your, and of course I was running late, but what did you name your favorite horror film?
I didn't. I
so-
like listening to you guys.
Right. So what is your favorite horror film?
Favorite horror film right now? I mean, off the top of my head, if I were to say that I would watch it religiously every time it comes on, it's 28 Days Later. I think it's Cillian Murphy is just
The movement of
he's
those
just
zombies.
a man. But everybody in that movie is phenomenal.
Yeah.
All the actors, and then the storyline was unpredictable, and there was no like quick fix. Like it's and that's the thing I do appreciate about the genre, the zombie genre that I think is lost right now because of I love The Walking Dead. I just gotta get. It is depressing.
It is
during the bot-
depressing.
but
Ugh.
if you remember, what is it, Night of the Living Dead, which was the original,
Mhm.
George Romero.
Yes.
Mhm.
It's the thing that fascinates me about the genre and why I do like that they keep trying to revise it and bring it back again. Like they're doing 28 years later.
Yeah, that's
Okay,
they're making
I
that
did
now.
not know that.
Yeah, yeah.
Did you like 28 weeks later?
I did not as good as 28
Yeah,
days
but
later.
I thought
did
it was
like 28
almost
days
as
later.
good
Almost
as
as
the
good.
original.
I like all
Also-
those movies.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah, and that's Danny Boyle, right?
Yeah, Danny Boyle.
Danny
Yeah.
Boyle's
Yep.
amazing. But the whole concept of the concepts of the zombies for George Romero was that they're like a metaphor for almost like a great flood that comes and cleanses the earth
Like Noah.
when human beings get when they lose their way.
Mhm.
So I look at these movies, and when you kind of get that sense when you watch 28 Days Later that that's just like a bleakness of life, and the zombies never stop coming, and it's all about just these relationships that you have to build and that you have to nurture just to survive, and then focusing on these little things that keep you going every day, because the next day you might wake up and there's a horde outside. So I do like that they try to focus on the human experience with these movies, because that's what it's really about. Because also in the same vein, yeah, you do have this flood of zombies of undead coming to cleanse the earth or whatever the concept is. But very often a lot of these films the most dangerous, and in 28 Days Later, the most dangerous people in the movie are actually the humans. It's not
Yeah.
Right.
not the-
It always comes
And-
back to that, though, right?
Always comes back to
Always
that.
come back.
And I-
Humans are more dangerous than the virus that's
Right,
going on right,
right.
now. You know?
And I think what you're speaking to, and this is what really resonates with me, is like the hubris, right? Like the hubris of human beings and humanity, right? Like
Yeah.
to think that they can control everything. It's like the way that The Walking Dead jumps off is
Yeah.
that they're experimenting in a lab, and they think that they are so
Yeah.
advanced and sophisticated that
Yeah.
something
They're actually trying to extend life.
right, they're trying to extend life, but then that hubris they do something that allows for the breakdown of humanity. And for me, like honestly, and I've talked about this in my mind, it's like I could completely teach a whole course using The Walking Dead, because it is about human behavior. It is about interaction, right? Like that moment when what's Rick's the friend, and he like Shane, that moment when Shane like kills that one guy so that he can get away, right? He uses that guy as bait. I'm like, that moment right there, that's human behavior right there. At its worst.
At its worst.
But you're right about all these relationships.
But I think
that's the part about The Walking Dead that I love the most.
Yeah, I think that's the cool thing I think about these zombie movies is like that external pressure, the pressure cooker that's around these characters that's never going to go away. And it's what do you do in those moments when it's life and death and you have friends and family around and your life is at risk.
At
that
your
pressure
worst.
cooker thing is for me is entertaining and it's interesting, which is I think goes back to the original George Romero's. It was like 1960. I forgot what it was. That the original
60s or 50s?
1960s.
Okay.
The original one. But it starts off with these characters in a going to see their father, I think, in their grave, right? The two characters, and they go there, and you think it's about them and this grief that they're going to go through, and then the whole movie kind of flips, and it's the black character who's actually the one who is doing everything. I think his name was John or James. I'll look it up, but he's the one that actually goes around and like boards up the windows, locks the doors, and does all the stuff that actually keeps everybody else alive. Everybody, and there's even like a power struggle between them while also all the zombies are trying to get in as who's going to be in charge. And this black guy, he just starts doing the stuff, right? And he ends up keeping most of the people alive. He ends up being the last character to survive. And then what happens at the end? The cops show up and shoot him.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like even through all of this,
right? We can't survive.
It's not even the zombies that kill him.
Right.
It's the real world that takes him down at the end. Right. Yeah. So I love that about these
ever
zombie movies.
speak about that? Like why he did that, I wonder.
So he said that he didn't cast that dude on purpose. He said he was just the best actor.
Wow.
And that it turned out that casting him added this other layer
that he wasn't
to the
even
movie
aware
that
of.
he wasn't even aware of.
Yeah.
So I think that's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
To your point, because I don't know how much time you talked about Ouija, and it's Halloween episode. Have you guys ever played?
Of course.
Oh,
yeah.
yes, of course.
Did you ever have anything weird happen after you did that?
Not that I remember. No.
I didn't.
Okay.
You wanted to hear... I'll make up something for you because you know.
No, because I did. So I was. Just curious.
Did?
Oh, you did.
Yeah.
All right, tell it.
You guys believe in ghosts, stuff like that, like
spirits? I believe. Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
I believe.
I've had
an outer worldly. Yeah.
I've had an incident.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So all right. Yeah. I have. So when I was a kid, I used to be. I was back in, I think, Granddad's backyard in Brooklyn.
I know this story.
And I was messing around and, whatever. They told me to come inside. I didn't come inside. I don't remember how old it was. It must have been like, if I was in Granddad's backyard, it must have been like 5 or something like that. I didn't come inside and everybody else inside. And I was doing something stupid outside. And all of a sudden, I felt a grown person's hand smack me on my ass.
Really?
And I was like...
But you didn't see any...
There was nobody in the backyard.
So who do you think it was?
I don't know. I just ran inside.
It was an ancestor.
It was something.
Yeah.
I do believe in ancestors like walking with you.
And that's from somebody that I don't want to believe in this stuff. Like I'm wearing a Starfleet. I'm wearing a Starfleet jersey. Like we don't believe in that.
Man of science.
I'm a man of science.
I think you can be both. You can be a man of the metaphysical realm and the science realm, right?
Yeah, it doesn't matter that you don't believe in it. You felt it though, didn't you?
I felt it. And I've seen, and after I played Ouija, was at a college dorm. I remember like I saw, it was like a day later. I saw I thought I saw a ghost like standing in my window, just like looking at me. And I was like, that's why I don't do this stuff. Man. This is why I don't do this stuff. And it made it difficult for me to sleep for like a week.
Wow.
Just a week?
Yeah, because then I reasoned myself out of it. I thought, I'm losing my mind. I am projecting this idea of a thing onto this universe that doesn't really happen.
I mean, I don't know if I see them as ghosts, but I do believe like spirits walk with you. The ancestors walk with you. People talk to you. Like I remember one time I was like walking around in Ohio when I was in grad school and I had some money out and something kind of passed by me saying like, you know better than that, boy. And I was just like, I put my, you know what I mean? And so I felt like that was a spirit, like talking to me saying like,
yeah,
you should, so I do believe that. I believe that the spirits, and it's kind of like, I don't know, the ancestors walk with us.
Mm-hmm.
They guide you. If that's along the lines of a ghost, I believe in ghosts.
Yeah,
I
I mean,
guess.
if
I
you,
do too.
you said you had an experience.
Yeah, I've had a couple. I guess the less personal one I'll talk about. I was in my bedroom and I was just maybe cleaning out a drawer or something like that. And all of a sudden I felt this presence behind me. And I turned, quickly and didn't see anybody, of course. But that presence stayed behind my front door for such a long time.
What did it feel like? Like you said,
It felt sad.
It was sad.
It felt sad.
so you felt like an emotion behind you? Or
I
what did you
felt
feel?
like yes, like this person was looking for someone,
Oh,
and it wasn't me.
Hmm.
And that's the first thing that
What'd you do?
came to my mind. Nothing.
See, so
I
so these horror movies would happen. They would happen. It doesn't matter.
See,
if
and
black people
because
know.
I didn't feel scared. I don't know what I felt. I mean, I felt scared at first. 'Cause I'm like, wait, what? Because I thought somebody was in my apartment, but then
Mhm.
I'm like, oh, there's no one here, but there's someone behind my front door. So, yeah.
Yeah.
But ever since I've been in that building,
Yeah.
other people who were there
Yeah.
said that there's absolutely something
How
there.
does that come up in conversation? I'm
Well,
just
I've
wondering.
been in that building for 20 some almost 30
Right,
years.
right.
So most of the people that would say that they had been there before me
Mhm.
and they knew what happened there. Like I think people have died in that building or what have
Oh,
you.
they
So do
okay.
you guys
Yeah.
believe that like on special days like Halloween, for instance, that like there's the thinning of the layer, an opening, there's like a thinning of a layer between
The
reality
bridge.
and the bridge between the afterlife. Do you think that's really a
I
thing?
don't know if I've ever thought about that.
I wouldn't think about that as an American holiday that we kind of just like, why is it October 31st? Do we know the origin of
That's a
this
very good
date?
question. No.
Right, but they.
No.
I
No,
mean, what
the
about,
Oh, no,
origin
I
of
wouldn't.
Halloween, why it's October 31st.
but
Put it
what
in the
about the
comments.
celebrations that happen in like Hispanic communities?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like
Day
other
of the Dead.
countries
Yeah.
that I would feel that it's more religious. We look at it as dressing up.
Mhm.
Right, but
You
there's
know what I mean? But
there's a
theirs
spiritual
is
connection,
very
right? 'Cause
spirit.
there's
Yes,
Yeah,
yeah,
there's
absolutely.
pagan roots too.
right.
Yeah,
They're
pagan.
they're
Yeah.
honoring their dead, aren't they?
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm just curious because I do when I do remember, and maybe maybe it is going out there. See, a lot of this may be just my brain, but I do go out there sometimes when I used to go out with Dale or I used to go out trick or treating, and it's like the briskness is in the air, and you see everybody running around. I feel like there could probably be some ghosts out here right now. Like I do feel like maybe it's because we're all attuned to it, and maybe
Yeah.
we can. I don't know. I'm trying to. I feel like our ghost stories and these vampire stories and the Halloween stories and even the zombie stories. Zombie stories are based on Haitian
Mm-hmm.
Haitian history and rituals and
Mm-hmm.
things of that nature. So they're based in reality to
Yeah.
a point, right?
And I mean vampire stuff as well,
Vampire
right?
stuff as
Like
well.
not in Haitian, but like in
Yeah.
this idea around. Okay, and I've speaking of vampires, and I've asked you guys a couple of times. I've tried to nudge you into. Have you watched the Interview with the Vampire series?
I have
Okay,
watched.
see, but
So
by Jordan's reaction, right?
Listen, the book had me bawling on
Right.
the train in the park.
Yeah.
And the movie was good.
The
and
move, the
was
series
good.
is the bomb. I
Anne
keep telling you
Rice.
guys.
Yes.
It's
So
good.
let me get.
Thank you, Jordan.
I read the books.
The books
The
are
reason
so
why I
good.
haven't I forgot which
Did you
one.
say the books make you bawl?
Yeah.
Yeah, the books are
Because
They
of the
make
love,
you cry.
the books.
the love
be-
story.
Yeah, the books.
Yeah.
If you,
Oh.
It's so sad.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's- it's
So
more
never
about
read it, Anne
about
Rice.
romance than the vampire
Okay.
thing.
yeah.
So you can get caught up in it. The lovely with the blood and bones or something like that. What's that book?
Mhm.
I have an autographed copy of that by her.
Oh, really? By Anne Rice?
Anne Rice, yeah.
Okay. Shout out
But,
to Anne Rice,
shout out
right?
to Anne Rice. So let me tell you, my only hesitance in
the series.
the series
And-
is because I've been so sort of let down by the books and the thing, and not the books, the movies and the things like that,
Mhm.
because they just haven't lived up to the books, like even in the least, and that's fine. That's fine.
I like the series better than the movies, quite honestly.
I no, I do believe that.
Yeah.
I do believe that. I do believe that. I'm gonna give it a watch. I've watched
You
maybe
should.
like 3 episodes.
Yeah.
Watch it.
I first of all, to me, and I'm sometimes it's like preparation for the show. You never know what's gonna pop up, but
Yeah.
the lead in Interview with the Vampire, Louis, right? It's
Yeah.
also the guy
The guy from Game of
from
Thrones.
Game of Thrones, right?
Yeah.
he plays the
Grey
lead in this, right? Grey Worm.
Yeah.
Okay, somebody get me the name at some point or whatever.
Yep.
He's the lead in Interview with a Vampire.
Yeah.
He's mesmerizing. First of all, because the way he plays his part in Game of Thrones is so stoic.
Yeah.
And this one is so full of life and emotion. He is a maroon or from Louisiana,
Yeah.
right? And just full of like passion and fire and
Yeah.
and he gets transformed, right? And he falls in love with Lestat, right? They
Yeah.
tell his origin story.
Yeah.
They tell his origin story with Claudia. The same character in
In
Interview with a Vampire, but she is reimagined as because it was in New Orleans, right?
Yeah.
That's where he meets Lestat, right? So it makes sense that he would be this octoroon, right? Beautiful. The little girl Claudia is also in like octoroon or whatever.
Yeah.
And the story is just so compelling. The one thing about the story that I get kind of annoyed with, I got to be careful, is like I don't see what the appeal to Lestat is. Like I don't understand that. But he is power, and he what's the word? He brought him to life. There's a word for it. He made him a vampire.
Yeah.
And so that's where that connection is. It's more powerful than that. It's stronger than that.
Yeah.
But the story is really compelling because you start in Louisiana, it moves to Paris, it moves to another, I think somewhere in Eastern Europe. It's just really really good.
So I'll give it another rewatch. I think for me, I also felt like the gentleman who plays, I'm sure he's a great actor. The guy who plays Lestat, he doesn't do it for me.
Well, right. Same thing here.
So
Same
maybe
thing here.
maybe I have to just kind of get past that. I do. The guy that plays Louis, I think he's great.
Yeah.
He was great. Before we wind up, so I want to add one more movie that I just thought about that is one of my favorite horror movies. It's The Fly with Jeff Goldblum.
I love The Fly.
That was
Not
great.
the original, the one with Gina.
So what did you love about it?
Yes. Jeff Goldblum is just so talented. Like he's just
Right?
so
He is.
like the way that he started like moving like a fly.
Mhm.
And a lot of the lines that he had in his scenes that made the movie, those are like improv things.
Mhm.
And
I love him.
Like when he spit up he spit up the thing and he's like
Transformation.
he's like "Ugh, that's gross. Right? like that
He
was
does.
that's
I
not in the
remember that
script,
line. I remember
right?
that. Yeah.
And I just thought he made some really gross scenes kind of funny.
Yeah,
to me.
he did. He did.
And you really feel like a warmth and a sadness for him.
Yeah.
Because of what happens, and how it happens
Yes.
and everything like that.
Yeah.
So I just thought it was done very, very, very well.
Yeah.
So
That is
that's
one that I
what it
could
is.
watch over and over
Yeah.
again. As well as another one of my favorites is The Thing.
Oh my God! How do we?
I don't know.
How do we
You
miss
guys
the
have
thing?
talked about
John
it on the
Carpenter.
show before.
Yeah, we have talked
Yeah.
about it before.
Yeah. I'm
The thing
surprised.
is still
I could watch it
amazing.
over. and
Before we
over.
end, because
Over
who do you think? So at the end, with Kurt
Ah!
Russell and
Well, I don't know.
oh my God,
I don't know the
You
character.
gotta take our cards. You gotta take our cards. I forgot the guy. Anyway, which one do you think is the thing at the end?
I
Or do you
think
think-
Kurt's. I think Kurt's definitely the thing.
Really?
I do,
Why?
Yeah.
You think Kurt's the thing? Why?
because I don't want the other guy to be.
Pretty much. And then he's the lead character. Right. Yeah.
Well, the thing is that the thing that it can be it's a microorganism.
Right.
So when they're sitting there at the end, and so let's say Kurt's the thing. Kurt's drinking from the bottle, and he passes it to the other guy. So the other guy takes a sip too. So if Kurt's the thing, then that guy will.
Oh,
soon
so
be the
he's
thing, too.
okay. So
So I'm curious, like, is neither one of the thing? Is one of the thing? Does Kurt know that this guy is the thing?
right.
And he's like, here you go. You know? I love that.
I love
this
that movie
is-
so much.
We gotta do the horror one again. We just like skip as usual.
I know
everything else.
my
just skip
notes
the
are so
surface.
long and like hit nothing.
Yeah, you guys in the comments, if you can let us know what your favorite horror
Horror
movies
film
are,
is. Yeah.
who your favorite horror directors are. We didn't even get into that stuff.
I know.
either as
James
well.
Wan.
James Wan is great.
James
Wan is
Wan,
great.
yeah.
I'm the guy that did well, it's hard because you can talk about classic directors. Anyway, we'll get into that. Later. Danny Boyle, of course, is on there.
Yes.
You got to put Clive Barker on there. Hellraiser.
Hellraiser always.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nightbreed.
You
Yes.
guys are diehard horror fans. I mean,
It's
you know,
fun.
when you say the names, I'm like, yeah, okay.
Yeah,
But I
yeah.
wouldn't, it would
It's
not
the
pop off
thrill
of
of
my,
it. It's just
you know,
it's just thrilling. It's
I appreciate anyone who who finds a new way to scare me.
yes.
You know, because we are so, as you were talking about before, you guys we're so unfazed by things now.
Yeah.
That I do like when these directors, especially in that horror
Mhm.
genre, find a way to make us feel something about ourselves in these fantastical ways with these creatures and demons that are here to kill us. You know,
Yeah.
but it's like it makes you reflect on who we are and where we are right now. So I think that's one of the great things about good horror movies.
Yeah.
But we got to come back and do this again.
Yes.
To let everybody.
Oh, can
know
I
where
give
they
one
can
more
find you.
shout out?
Yes, of course. You can shout
Oddity.
outs.
I just watched it last night. Did you see Oddity?
Mm-mm.
Very good movie.
Oddity. Okay.
Yes.
Sunrise. Right. Sunrise. It's a
Sunrise.
Supernova with
Supernova.
Cillian Murphy. It's a horror movie that takes place in space.
Oh, that was what you were talking about.
Supernova.
Like Event Horizon?
L-
Oh yeah, I saw both of them. What am I talking about?
Event Horizon. Yeah. So these are all shout outs here. Anyway.
Yes. I know we can
Keep
shout
going.
out forever.
Guys, we're
It's
gonna do
be
another one.
hour.
We're gonna do another one. We gotta thank you guys for listening. Let everybody know where you can find you guys.
Dana Deed on Instagram.
Sheldon Applewhite on Instagram and Dr. S. Applewhite on X, soon to be closed, but yes.
Yeah, stop supporting the fascists.
I know.
And Brendon Hamilton, be music maker on all socials. We'd like to thank you guys for listening to us talk crap and for
Tell your friends.
for telling your friends and for liking and subscribing and commenting. It's
And all
been
the new
really
followers.
cool, and all the new followers. It's been really cool. So thank you so much.
We really do want to hear about your favorite horror films because clearly I have a lot to catch up on. So
Yes, make
Put it in the
suggestions for Sheldon. He likes-
Basic, yeah.
Basic. He likes slasher, kinda, but make some other recommendations that maybe he might like.
Yeah.
Thanks, you guys. Thanks again for listening. This has been the Quest Culture Podcast. Until next time.